10, 9, ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff.
3, 2, 1. Welcome to the Alien Probe Podcast. The James Webb Space Telescope, sometimes called JWST or Webb, will be a large infrared telescope with approximately 6.5 meter primary mirror. The telescope was launched on an Ariane 5 rocket. Webb will be the premier observatory for the next decade, serving thousands of astronomers worldwide. It will study every phase in the history of our universe, ranging from the first luminous glows after the Big Bang to the formation of solar systems capable of supporting life on planets like Earth to the evolution of our own system. Joining today, I'm Doug. Joining today, Dr. Bill. Now that we know each other, what's going on, bud?
Hello. Are you sure you're Doug?
I think so. I think
What?
so.
All right. So it's cold. It's freezing where you are. It's freezing where I am.
Hopefully, won't hear the heaters in the background.
I have no heater because my heater blew up, and I'm waiting on delivery of a new one. So, but it's okay. It's warm here. The sun is shining in the windows.
I turned mine up to 70. My wife's out walking the dog. As soon as she walks in with the dog, there's going to be a little scream in the background. We have thermostat wars. You know?
Yeah.
I like it 70. She likes it 68 or lower.
Yeah, I have the same problem.
So we discussed a couple of things during the week. The testing of the materials recovered from UFO crashes. I watched the video. It was pretty interesting what they had to say with the interview there.
Yes.
Yeah,
I got a couple things out of that. What did you anything stand out?
Well, he was discussing that the slag. It's funny because he talked. I don't know if you caught. I'm sure you did. This slag thing keeps coming up. I mean, from Maury Island to another observation that I read, and then now this guy says that that's the product that obviously other scientists have looked at, and they said, the layering of the material is such that, it wouldn't necessarily be obviously manufactured on Earth. And he did discuss that, we have our periodic table of elements. How many is it? I bet you know.
Oh, I don't remember. I used to, when I was a student, I used to carry a periodic table card with me.
We should know.
Which I don't do anymore.
I'm going to get an email. I didn't you know that? I thought it was 85 or something. I don't
look it up. More. Google it. Just Google it.
Google it. I don't want to change my screen.
Yeah.
So anyway, so he says we need to be looking at the table of elements differently. Like, we're in the Bronze Age. He says these are just new elements, possibly.
Well, he was talking about isotopes, and there was that ship or whatever exploded over a beach in Brazil in 1957, and they pieces of magnesium alloy rained down into the beach and onto into the water, and people were recovered these pieces. That stuff has been analyzed before, and was magnesium and traces of titanium and calcium, which they thought might have been contamination from the beach. Oh, I've got a cat approaching. Cat alert.
Approaching.
Cat alert. Oh, he's going to be annoying. And he's coming close. And these, what he saw when they did the analysis was that he was saying that it was 60% of the predominant isotope, and then other isotopes in, whatever, 20, 30, 20, whatever. And there's like 3 or 4 different isotopes of magnesium. And he said this is different than the isotope mix found in nature. And the isotope mix in nature is 79% most common isotope of magnesium. So he was saying that was unusual, and that's interesting. And mainly I think it's interesting because magnesium is used in the primarily was developed by the Germans before and during World War II, was magnesium metals were used in aerospace construction materials. And what he was suggesting is that by varying these isotopes, you change the properties of the material, which allows it to, I guess, have different properties. So it might have different strength characteristics or something like that. And I know they do this with drugs. They'll put in different isotopes of molecules and different drugs and stuff to alter the properties of the drugs. But you can also, what he was suggesting is that you're altering the structural parameters of the material by altering the isotopes, which is actually a really cool idea. So that could potentially have big consequences or applications in aerospace industry if somebody was to take these materials and do specific metallurgic tests on them.
Something we can use now. Did you catch the lithium reference with, which is something we typically use for people that need to have?
Yeah, I don't remember. What did he say about the lithium?
Well, he said there's something with the lithium, and then I just remember that he said, if it's more, he had a rat. He had the rat.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know how it applies.
I know. So
I wasn't sure how it applied to the metallurgy.
Well, that's an example. It's like the example I was thinking of. It was a different one where people are taking tritium and putting it into drugs to alter drugs. There's a couple advantages to that. Is if you tritiate, there's a company that tritiated a ton of different known drugs that were off patent. And once you tritiate them, it's a new drug and you can get a new patent.
Right.
And then they had at least one drug that they tested for, I can't remember what it was for. And when I reviewed the paper on this drug's efficacy, it really wasn't any different than the off-patent drug, but it was retained longer, which could add, I guess, some advantages, because you would instead of having to take the drug every 6 hours, you would take it every 8 hours or something. So that is a slight advantage over and makes it more convenient for people. So that's one case that I know of. And with the lithium, what he was talking about, if you give the rats one isotope of lithium instead of the natural mix of the isotopes, the mother overcares and overfeeds the pups, and the other isotope, it just the mother would neglect the pups.
Right, exactly.
So he's a biologist. He's not a physicist or a metallurgist or anything like that. So he was using that example to tie it in with the magnesium example, which was what I was trying to explain, is that if you change the isotopes in the metal, you're going to fundamentally change the structural properties of the metal. So you might be able to, so you have magnesium, it's light, it's strong. If you use a different isotope ratio, you have to put other things in magnesium. I have another cat coming in. If you put, this one's tearing up stuff.
How many cats do you have?
We have 2. And they're approaching. They're coming.
They're circling.
They're circling.
Making sure you're still alive.
Yeah,
you still feed me, right?
Yeah. No, the one here wants to go out. Because this one doesn't like to use the cat box, so it likes to go outside. So it's coming to ask to go out.
Yeah, I don't blame him.
Yeah, there it goes.
Is that is that your better half?
Yeah.
You should have her come on and say a few words.
No, I'm actually going to shut the door. So entertain.
Okay. So I'll talk a little bit about the new James Webb Space Telescope. It was an international collaboration of several innovative technologies have been developed for Webb. These include a primary mirror made of 18 separate segments that unfold and adjust to shape after launch. The mirrors are made of ultralight beryllium. Webb's biggest feature is a tennis court-sized 5-layered sunshield that attenuates heat from the sun more than 1 million times. The telescope's 4 instruments, cameras, and spectrometers have detectors that are able to record extremely faint signals. One instrument, the near spec, has programmable micro shutters, which enable observation of up to 100 objects simultaneously. Webb also has a cryocooler for cooling the mid-infrared detectors of another instrument, the MIRI, to very cold 7K so they can work.
Bonk, bonk.
Yeah, MIRI.
Bonk,
So
bonk.
yeah, I just want to kind of touch. I know it was something that's out there. I don't know what they're going to find. I don't want to get us off the subject too much.
Yeah, I know. And it's in a Lagrange point, which is real interesting, which is cool.
Yeah, so I don't know what they're gonna. I don't know what they're. For us, obviously, we want to find something we want to find life, and we want to find, extraterrestrials. But I think they're looking at more of how they can look so far that they can see the beginnings of the Big Bang, because they can see so far out. It's interesting.
Well, if it's it can also see through dust clouds, and that provides an advantage. And one of the things that the Webb scope might be able to see is that people speculate that there's really advanced civilizations will build massive structures in space, like a Dyson sphere or a ring world or something like that. So it's possible that that the Webb telescope could, spot something like that. I don't know. I don't know what its full parameters are, but it is a pretty slick piece of technology.
Yeah, I had heard somewhere where they're discussing looking at Alpha Centauri, and I don't know if you remember Lost in Space. I know you do. That was where they were going. It was kind of weird. Yeah, we're going to Alpha Centauri, and now they're looking at Alpha Centauri.
Yeah.
So, I almost got some pictures from Angela Cartwright. She was one of my favorites. Actually, I like Judy better, the blonde.
Was she? She was a sister?
Angela Cartwright was the sister with the black hair. Judy had blonde hair. I don't know. It was kind of weird.
Okay.
She has a website where she sells some pictures of her. Billy Mooney is on there also.
Moomy or Mooney? Moomy?
It's Moomy, M-U-M-Y. I've always been told it's not Mummy. It's Billy Mooney.
Mooney. Okay.
The kid that's, Will.
He was in Babylon 5 too.
Yes.
Yep. Which I want to rewatch.
And they sell some. Yeah, they sell. I just want to pick. I always want to pick. I love the show, and I know it's kind of goofy and weird, but it was cool. It was science fiction. So
yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that's one of my complaints right now. Is when I'm looking at new movies, there's aren't any. Not a lot of science fiction out there. There's some stuff. I'd like to see more good stuff.
Do you get Apple TV? Do you get that? You subscribe to that?
No. What do you?
It's got an Asimov series.
That Foundation. Robert. Yeah, I've watched part of that.
Oh yeah, Foundation. We watched the first. Ed's like it was too slow. There was too much talking.
I watched a few episodes and I reread the books before, and he did some follow-up books which I haven't read, but I reread the first 3 original books. They're short reads before watching a few episodes of the Foundation, and I just couldn't get into it. It's the usual Hollywood thing. It's like okay,
yeah,
we're gonna take a book that's sold millions and millions and millions and millions of copies, and then I'm going to rewrite it and make it in my own vision, completely make it different. So it's like, no, it's not like the Harry Potter thing where it's like you take the Harry Potter book and you make a Harry Potter movie that's just like the Harry Potter book, and you have millions of people who have bought the books go and see the movie and love it. You basically destroy your ability to make any money out of the movie because nobody wants to watch it that's read the book because it's so bizarrely different. And
it doesn't take too many people to watch the movie and dirt it so bad where other people are like, nah, I'm not doing it.
It wasn't bad. I did like some of the elements that they did in it. The Emperor being cloned from generation to generation, I thought was very cool. And then they had a robot which was paralleling. Isaac Asimov wrote the Foundation series. The robot was paralleling sort of the iRobot stories that he used to write. So they brought in they did some really cool stuff. And then they brought in the new bizarre Hollywood crap where they got to remake it in their own image or something. I go, I'm smarter than the original author that wrote this book that sold millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of books, and has been, which has been loved by millions and millions of people, and has millions and millions of fans that would love to see a decent representation of the book, and then they go, I'm smarter than all these people, and I'm going to do it, and it's going to be better. And it's not. It's a loosely based adaptation of the novels, and they completely missed the point. So, but
did Asimov did iRobot?
Yeah,
did he?
Yeah,
that was a great. And then they, of course, made the Outer Limits version, which had Leonard Nimoy in it.
And then they had the Will Smith movie, which was good.
Awesome.
I
love that movie.
And that was a good adaptation.
Well,
yeah, I mean, so that you can do it. And I've been thinking about watching that again because I think it's on one of these streaming services we have.
It's on it's on pretty much everywhere. But that is a good movie.
Yeah, and that was a great job. It was a great job. But then but they always do this. There was a series of stories. Can't remember there was 2 kids' books. One was about I can't remember, some sort of vampire carnival series that my kid loved, and then another one with like the Greek gods as kids or something like that. And these were real popular juvenile series, and of course they had to remake them in their own image. And they're so friggin' stupid. It's like, look at Harry Potter. Look at the Harry Potter movies. Harry Potter books made a lot of money. Harry Potter movies made a lot of money. And then they they go, I'm going to remake it in my own image and my own ideas. And it's like, the fans don't want to watch your story. No. They want to watch the story that they read and love. So it's just, yes, people are profoundly retarded. And they
don't use that word. They're challenged.
Yes, and
when it comes
yes, they are. I'm using it to refer to people that are not challenged.
Yeah,
they are people that are just
they're challenged in their way.
Yeah, in a very bad way. So Anyway, so we're really sort of sliding around off topic.
Yeah.
Coming back to the testing materials thing with the guy at Stanford, and that was. I was saying the possibility is that the isotope mix is going to give you a structural material for spacecraft or aircraft that is going to have specific properties that are going to enhance performance. So that's the idea behind that. And one of the things the guy at Stanford was saying is he said a red flag is when someone has something that they say is from a UFO and they want to sell it to us, and that's a red flag. Well, here's the problem, is that these guys are multi-millionaires at universities that have billions and billions of dollars in endowments. And people will say, I've heard people say that places like Harvard and Stanford are equity funds with universities attached. It's like the university that I used to work for, people called it a football team with the university attached. And there's a lot of schools that are basically that.
You want to give him a shout out? You want to give him a shout out?
No.
I know you're a fan.
No. And no, I'm not big on college football. And but he was saying, it's a big big red flag. But it's here's what I was thinking. If you had a UFO fly over your house and a 10-pound chunk of gold or diamond fell off that UFO in your yard, would you give that to a multimillionaire?
No, I would sell
Why
it.
not? Why not? Why not? It's for science. It's for science. Give it to the.
All right. Okay, look, I'll give a piece of it for science, and I'll sell the rest. Okay.
Yeah, that's actually a decent approach. But basically, if you're going to, don't give something that has potential to be worth billions of dollars away free to multimillionaires and to billionaire corporations to exploit. And this guy was also saying, he was going, well, we want this technology to be, open and free, and so the nations of the world and blah blah blah. And I'm like, well, what about nuclear weapons? That technology is open and available to all countries to develop. Yeah. How's that working out for you?
Yeah.
So,
for those that we want to develop it, but we can't really control much of anything. It seems.
Yeah, and it's God. And nuclear weapons are not hard to build. So the technology is 80 years old now. If they could build it 80, if it could be done 80 years ago with the existing technology, it can be done a lot easier now. The only reason countries don't do it is because of, I think, economic reasons. So anyway, yeah. So if you do get a chunk of something falling out of a UFO, don't give it to multimillionaires to profit from. Look after your own best interest and try and develop a strategy for dealing with it.
This guy he was doing it on it, like you said, he was a biologist, so he's doing this kind of on his own. He spent $70,000 of his own money.
Yeah, but his webpage, his webpage at the university brags about how many hundreds of millions of dollars that he has created of his own personal wealth and companies. So for this guy,
it's not like he's poor.
$70,000 for this guy is pocket change for us.
Yeah, he insinuated that it was no small amount for him. So maybe that's not the case.
Well, and this is how these guys work. I was at Stanford for 5 years, and there was you have these scientists there that are multimillionaires. They're worth tens of millions of dollars, and they they get millions from the government. It's like, why don't you just fund your own research? You're worth $100 million. But no, they're not. They're businessmen. They're businessmen. They're making money. They're making themselves wealthy. They're making the university wealthy. They're making investors wealthy. So it's not altruistic. It's not 100% altruistic enterprise. They're there to make money.
He said he says he was approached after this went off, he was approached by Stanford and Harvard to, assist with, I don't know if they wanted to assist or if they wanted to share.
Well, I'm saying the same thing about the Galileo project. If you look at all the people involved in the Galileo project, you have all these very wealthy individuals. And Harvard's another giant equity fund with the university attached. It's worth multi-billions. They actually don't need us to give them our $10 to build an instrument.
Yeah.
They have the money. So it's just like, come on.
Yeah.
Come on. It's not all altruism. There is scientific interest in doing it. But if you're dealing with a university like Harvard or Stanford, the bottom line is they want to make money. And Avi Loeb is he's awesome in stepping out there and creating this program and stuff. But ultimately, it's money and glory. So they want to be able to say, they're going to have fantastic discoveries, but they are also going to make lots and lots of money from this, either through PR or through patents. And the guy at Stanford has a ton of patents. I was going through them and looking at them this morning, just out of curiosity. And anyway, that's after my how many years was I?
Well,
I mean, I've been at two top universities and three top universities. Worked at three top universities, and they're great places. There's great work, but I mean, they're all money making ventures. It's all about
I
the
said
money.
he was also approached by the CIA to
That I found real interesting.
Inquiring.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're curious as to what he's come up with.
Well, he was saying, didn't they bring him blood samples from people that have been exposed to these things?
I don't know if it was exposed to these rocks, but
well,
they were exposed in some manner. It sounded like they were close to a craft.
Yes, that's what
I got out of it.
That's what he was saying. And that's interesting that this is coming from the CIA.
Yeah.
And the CIA has spent decades saying we have nothing to do with UFOs. But now he's being approached by CIA people with blood samples of people that were exposed to this stuff. And I'm not really sure. To me, it doesn't really make. I'm familiar with his research and what he does. It doesn't really make any sense. He didn't. I don't know what he didn't publish anything. He's saying we're all open. They're all open about publishing once they're ready to publish and patent. Once the patents have been filed, they will publish.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So I don't know what you would get out of analyzing the blood of people exposed to particular levels of energy.
Well, they got sick, so they're trying to figure out what's making them sick.
Yeah, well, I've done a lot of analysis for some of my work. I've done analysis of people that have been injured and stuff, and it's I don't think you need to go to a special lab at Stanford with the guy specializes in microscopic examination of stuff. You can do a qualified they have these medical doctors that work with NASA and astronauts and aerospace people and people that are associated with nuclear energy and all this other stuff. The expertise is out there to get these people to look at this stuff. So I'm not sure what's going on there. One of the things in some of the books that I have on, like one of them on Roswell and some of the other stuff. Oh, and there was that CIA that was interviewed that we talked about a little bit. CIA guy that was interviewed. It's like there seems to be a lot of CIA involvement in UFO stuff, which is weird. So,
I mean, here I'm going to kind of interject into the over across the world. We talk a lot. We spend a lot of time talking about what we do, MUFON, and that type of thing. But France is very forthcoming. I watched an Ancient Aliens episode, a new one.
The guy at Stanford doesn't like Ancient Aliens.
No. Yeah, well, I don't know.
All right, so France.
What's not to like about Ancient Aliens? I mean,
I've watched 2 episodes, season 1. I thought it was decent. I had some criticisms. I've seen 2 episodes. They've been going on for like 9 seasons or something crazy.
They talk a lot more lately. Like the one from last night was a new one from 22.
Yeah.
And they're talking a lot more about what's happening instead of, I saw a picture of or they talk constant. They're just like Oak Island. They keep talking about the same thing over and over. It's a thing, I guess, with these docu-drama.
Yeah. And then they have the reaction shot where everyone goes,
Giorgio is in it. The guy with the hair.
Oh, yeah.
And
I like him.
Yeah, I like him. I got his picture on my wall.
Yeah.
So France has got, other countries are more forthcoming about, we have MUFON, but they talk about France and China. And France is very open. If they get a report, it goes on. It's got this weird name, France's UFO. I should have looked it up before it came on. It's got its own MUFON type agency, but it's government. Yeah. It's government.
We have a copy of the report that Elizabeth Keene turned her on to UFOs.
Yeah.
We have it. We'll get to that at some point.
And they get a report through their government. I'm sure they do whatever they're going to do with it. Then they release it to a online
website.
document, website.
Yeah.
And you can look at every report that comes through, and they said 20% of them they admit, and it's this magic 20% number.
Yeah.
Or we can't figure, it doesn't say it's legit, it just says they can't figure out what it is, which means it's possibly something, China is also interesting. I don't know if you knew. China has tons of these small UFO groups that pop up. They allow it. They said it's not. It's crazy.
I'm not surprised. Here, it's time for you to do your.
Oh, it's time. Let's talk about BCS at Orion. We're going to do a little advertising. It's only going to take a couple seconds here. Here we go. At Orion BCS, their goal is to find the best program and rates available for your business. Their team has years of experience helping clients find lower rates for processing credit cards. They understand that every business is different, so let them spend the time to find out what suits your business needs. So visit orionbcs.com and let them begin the process towards saving you money to help you realize your financial goals. Once again, visit orionbcs.com and contact them today. All programs of Orion BCS are subject to terms and conditions. Visit orionbcs.com for more information. And that's Orion. Thank you, Orion.
Yes.
So yes. China is there's tons. I mean, tons of small, like pods of these groups that study UFOs. So the government, China's government, so friendly, they are allowing it, but they said you can do this, but only if you report to us what you find.
Yeah.
So they're basically for free, probably. Oh, I'm sure they are.
Well, MUFON essentially is for free because you have volunteer investigators. Sure. So it's similar type, but probably structure.
It's interesting. Yeah, they're not tied together in the sense that MUFON is, where we're all tied. MUFON as a card-carrying member, we're all tied together under one umbrella. There are other organizations in the U.S. that do this, but MUFON's the biggest. But China it's like a web. It's almost like a web of these pods all over China, and it's interesting that the Chinese government is taking such an interest in the research of these sightings.
Well, one of the things that bothers me is that we don't get a lot of news about the Chinese space program. And years ago, when I was in China for work,
were you in China?
I've been there a couple times.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I've been approached about becoming a faculty at Chinese university.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I thought I told you.
No, not the Chinese one.
Yeah, it was a I won't name anything, but it was I loved the place. I loved the city. The faculty that I met with were amazingly dedicated and hardworking. So it was just it was a good experience. It's just not, you reach a certain point. If it had been 20 years ago, absolutely, I'd do that. Love to do it. The funny thing is that when I told my family, they were all over it. They wanted to go, and I'm like, I had to. I'm the one who said no. I'm not doing it. But even my kid was like, yeah, let's do it. So
go to China.
Yeah, it was too much. I'm too much of a wimp. I wimped. But when I was there, I was flying to this university to meet people and talk to people, and I had can't remember if I was looking at a Chinese newspaper or online or something, but it was all over the news in China about their first manned space launch. And I can't remember when this was. This is 15 years ago or something. And it was all over their news. I mean, everywhere. It was on the televisions. All the newspapers had pictures of the astronaut, and it was on the internet. And it come back to the U.S. and there was nothing. It's like it didn't even happen. Yeah. And now they have a space station. You never hear anything about it except little bits and pieces here. They're putting modules up. They have a moon rover. They're going to to build a moon base probably within the next 5 years. So they are, I mean, they're really pushing their space program. And
they want the moon. They want the moon. They're on the dark side of the moon, aren't they? Didn't they leave that?
They are looking at looking at the polar region because of ice. Ice is critical for a moon base. Yeah,
water.
And there's that crater. I think it's the southern pole of the moon. There's a big crater that's in shade all the time, and there is ice in that crater. Did you see there was a show called For All Mankind? Is that on Apple TV?
Yeah. Yes, I watched that show. You know, I'm not sure.
Oh, that show is awesome. That show
where they found, was that the alternate reality one?
Yeah.
Or is that?
That was awesome. It's like we actually maintained and kept our space program instead of abandoning it with weird, I don't know, whatever the hell we've been doing.
Well, then of course the Russians came up and we got in a war. Was it that one?
Yeah. But it was also they were fighting over the ice in the crater on the moon.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'll predict right now the Chinese are going to have a base there before we do, years before we do. And they're going to strike out a claim for the ice water in that crater. And we're going to go, you're going to see it in the newspapers. They're going to be going, well, you know, the United States is saying that they can't claim this ice water exclusively for their use. And China's going to go, yes, we can. We were here first.
Here's our flag.
Here's our flag. Yeah, this is our bases here. This is our area, our territory. Just like Antarctica, where you map out different regions for different countries, and say this will be there'll be negotiations, and they'll say they'll divvy things up. But the first nation that gets there to claim the water ice is going to have the edge. And the way things are going now, I would say that's going to be China, and it's going to happen quickly. China and Russia, they're working together. So yeah, I'm not even sure. I don't know what we're doing with our space program. We're doing great work with like the Webb telescope and our space probes and stuff like that. But one of the big pushes too, and sort of getting off thing is, I've been reading The Believer, which is about the book. It's a book about John Mack, who's the alien abduction psychiatrist. And one of the things they talk about is like in the 80s, you remember this, the big protest against nuclear. There was no nukes. No nukes. But in this country, what they started doing is that the protests, they said, well, we're going to protest against nuclear power. So if you want to function in outer space, you're going to have nuclear reactors. You're going to have to, because solar panels aren't going to cut it. You're going to have nuclear reactors if you want to go to space. And the United States stepped away from nuclear power, and which is a mistake. They're talking about bringing it back because of climate change. Nuclear power is carbon neutral, and we saw all that stuff about the no nuke stuff. And and now they're going, well, wait a minute. What? It's carbon neutral? What about the nuclear waste? It's like, that can be dealt with. That's
why we have Nevada. That's what Nevada's for.
Yeah.
That stuff.
Well, and it's insane.
Sorry, it's like, Nevada, but
I hate Nevada. The people that live around this, it's jobs. Well-paying, long-lasting jobs. The community that I live in spent $2 billion on a wood-burning power plant.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, it's like, this is going to save the planet. What are you talking about? It's
wood burning. It's got smoke.
This is a technology. You go, $2 billion on a power plant that burns wood. All right, that's an act of genius right there.
That is genius. It is. That's what I was going to say. That is genius.
Yeah, that's going green, baby.
Yeah. So I don't know.
So I got my my rant about don't give your valuable $billion piece of UFO to multi-billion-dollar corporations and go, here you go. Here you go. Here you go. Look after yourself. Look after your own personal.
What
Go on. I'm babbling.
Okay, I want to talk about our ET and our government. And this also came up last night. According to ancient alien theorist, the aliens have already visited the U.S. government, not visited, but they're in constant contact, and in collaboration with the U.S. government.
This is the ancient alien thing?
Yeah, this is the ancient alien thing. And this was pretty good. I mean, it was...
This is the latest episode?
Latest episode? Watch.
I'll check it out.
I can't remember which one it was, but it's one of the ones from this year.
All right, I'll take a look.
And it's us and the Israeli guy, for some reason. The Israeli government.
Sure, why
not? We don't know about China. Probably we're thinking China as well.
China is very secretive.
And I mean, there was a guy. It's hard for me to take notes when I'm watching something on TV. I guess I could stop it, but I'm like, holy shit, I should write this down. So there's a guy out there that actually knows. You watch the episode; it's really interesting. He knows that they visited us, and he's stating that the ETs are telling us that we're just not. I mean, you've heard this story before. That we're just not ready for their technology, that they're here. Yeah, we're here. We're flying around. We're doing stuff. But they've always been here. And if you watch Alien Aliens, you'll in the beginning.
Yeah.
They've always been here.
Always been here.
And they will always,
the second episode I watched, I fell asleep.
That's usually what I use it for, too. Yeah. But before I fell asleep last night. So, it's what happens when you get old. So it's thought-provoking, but if you think about it, it kind of ties in with they're flying all around. I mean, these things are flying all around. We've talked about this many times.
Yeah.
They're just all over the place, and we can't really do anything. We can't do anything about it, or we're not trying to do anything about it.
Well,
although it seems like we're making an effort, a fake effort to, we acknowledge it. Now we're at the point where, we have to, they go to these ETs and like, we have to do something. Everybody knows they're here. If you just quit flying around during the day, it's like.
I just sent you, an article. We'll talk about it. We should talk about it more next week, but it's titled "Sane Citizen Sees UFO in New Jersey" by Bud Hopkins. And I think he's written this is from Village Voice, March 1, 1976. And Bud Hopkins wrote a bunch of, books on alien abductions. And he worked with this other guy that we've been talking about, Ted Blucher, who wrote the report on UFO Wave.
Who's 93, by the way.
93, and he's still alive. And his papers are in the New York Public Library, where I guess people can go and look at them. So good job.
Awesome. He was also an entertainer. He was an entertainer.
Yes, he was a singer and a dancer in New York. So anyway, this article talks about this guy, Bill Pawlowski, who saw a UFO land. And you're talking about bright lights. Let me find something juicy here. I'll just read this paragraph. It goes, Bill Pawlowski. No, that's not what I want. Here's what I want. So this guy runs a liquor store, knows Bud Hopkins really well. They've known each other the guy that wrote the article. They known each other for 17 years. And he says, after he left the shop, he closes up at midnight, does the books and other stuff until 2, and then he drives to an all-night restaurant, and then, goes home. So he was driving home, and this is near Manhattan, just across the river. And he goes, it was mild night, and his left front window was rolled down a few inches for ventilation. He was listening to his car radio when static began to interfere with the music, and the station started to fade. He slowed down, fiddling with the dial and grumbling to himself about the high cost of radio repairs, when he heard on his left a droning sound. Later he described it as reminding him of a refrigerator's hum. A bright large object flew by on the other side of the row of trees. And then I'm going to skip ahead. We'll talk about this more next week. I just sent this to you. You haven't seen it yet. He said George watched as a mixture of bewilderness, fascination, and abject fear as the object hovered. An apparatus resembling a ladder appeared at one side. A vertical door opened, and uniformed figures began to descend to the ground. There were at least 9 and possibly 11 of them, each clad in light-colored coveralls, each about 3 feet tall. They came down this ladder thing like kids coming down a fire escape, fast, not wasting motion. They dug, spooning the dirt in their bags. In a few moments, they were back inside, and the UFO ascended, moving north. So it's like, yeah, it's an awesome article. I sent it to you.
They just scooped some dirt.
Scooped some dirt and took off. And look at this. There's corroboration. There's another witness. There's some good stuff.
3-foot alien creature
in spacesuits.
Yeah.
So, but what you're talking about, they're here and they're flying around and stuff like that. This is I haven't looked at newer UFO report stuff, and I just ran across this because of the book that I've been reading. But yeah, take a look at that. So I don't know what's going on.
Maybe they're already here. We're being played, and it's like, yeah, you guys just keep doing this research. We already know.
There's a lot.
They're not giving us the tech, or they're not giving us the technologies because they don't want us to be on their level. Because then we'll really start blowing them up. Because that's how we roll.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
we don't want China. We don't want another country. I don't mention
China,
Russia.
China
and Russia.
Well,
we know what's going on in the Ukraine right now. So,
that's just nonsense. That's just a distraction that keeps. Hey, how are your grocery store shelves?
They're doing okay. How's yours?
They're okay, but they're starting to thin. I was getting a little. Just went recently. I was getting a little weirded out because.
Is it time for me to hoard again? I did it last time.
I'm not going to do any hoarding, but I happened to look down the toilet paper aisle, and there was no toilet paper. There's like 4.
Oh, are you out of toilet paper?
I asked about them. I said, "What's going on with the toilet paper?" And they go, "Oh, we'll get more on Tuesday." So
it's a supply. People are hoarding. They're so dumb. They're just people. They hear this, but I'm going to go off on a little not a tangent, but it's like we got to talk about the Ukraine because it's crazy.
All right.
Are you following the whatever detail we can get of it?
Yes.
Or you just I don't care.
I am a little bit.
Well, we're NATO. I have one of my coworkers is I'm like, why and he's trying to tell me what the reason is that Russia wants them. It's a warm water port and all that.
Oh, they got the Crimea. That's the port. They've already got the Crimea. They had an election.
So why are they? Okay, I get it. So all right. So why do they want it? They don't just want to take it over for laughs, right? Why do they need it?
What I have heard is that what I've seen in the news is Russia does not want missiles in the Ukraine pointed at Russia or NATO forces. They don't want military on their border sitting there armed.
Well, they have, from what I understand, there's a little bit of range to those things. So all the rest of our NATO pals over there could have them and point them at them. What are they worried about? Well, this specific piece of property. I get it. But
Germany is specifically hands off on this whole deal. Germany Germany doesn't want to be involved.
Okay, are there NATO?
Germany has already had a winter war with Russia, and it didn't end well for them last time.
Well, when was that? 40 what? So
70.
It's that NATO. One of the reasons NATO was developed was because of this type of thing, right? Because we don't want to say that we're taking over everyone's country. The U.S. is taking over every country, but we're going to be doing a lot of business with these countries, and we're pulling the strings. I don't want to say there are puppets.
From what I've been reading, Germany is saying no. They are not going to get involved. They don't want to get involved. They sent the Ukraine. Ukraine goes, send us some aid, and Germany sent them like 5,000 helmets. And that's where that came from. What's next? They said, "What's next? Pillows." They're going to send us pillows. So they sent.
Were they surplus from World War II?
So Germany is
with some SS stuff on the side.
Germany and Turkey are part of NATO, and Turkey is closer to Russia now than it has been in the past in the United States. And Turkey's like, we're not going to get involved in this. And NATO is Germany is like, we are not interested in playing this game. We need their gas, and it's just a bad idea. And as far as I could tell, Russia's primary ask is they just say, we don't want Ukraine to be part of NATO. And the U.S. is, I mean, I got to say, have you seen Blinken, our Secretary of State, or whatever he is? Does that guy strike you as being smart?
No.
No, the guy's a dullard.
No.
The guy's a dullard. And then we got President Badfinger. So, I mean, it's like, oh my God. So this
it's kind of scary.
It's scary because we don't have. I don't think we have competent people figuring this stuff out. There's an agenda. We don't see a lot of the agenda because it's all tied in with money and some other things. But as far as I can tell, two key members of NATO, Turkey and Germany, are like, we're not interested in a war with Russia. I'm sure.
Well, maybe then. I mean, okay, Germany. You know what? Then you're next.
Yeah.
You don't want to be involved. You're next.
From Russia or from us?
From Russia? No, not us. Russia's a little closer.
Well, I mean, I look at it from.
You're next, Germany.
Yeah, who wants a war in their backyard? I mean, nobody wants.
Let it happen, Germany, because you're next.
Yeah, I don't think
Turkey, and then probably Turkey first, because But
I don't think any of these. I don't think anything's going to happen from this. I think there's some
a lot of saber rattling.
Yeah, and there's behind the scenes stuff. But I strongly believe that the U.S. government, as it is currently being directed, is completely incompetent and probably nuts.
As the president, I might call Putin and say, "What are you doing? I mean, is this really where you're going? You really want to go? Is this where you want to go with this? I mean, you're basically attacking a NATO. You're basically threatening to attack one of our NATO allies, and we're supposed to be the guerrilla." And it's like we can't let this happen. But then now I didn't realize Germany and Turkey are like,
Germany and Turkey are not. Yeah, they're definitely.
We're not doing it. We're out of it. We're out of this.
They're not interested.
We don't want any part of this. Meanwhile, we're pumping. We're sending millions of pounds. I noticed the last transport we sent over there. We're not even using military transports. We're using commercial airlines to deliver this stuff. We're like, we don't want our plane in there right now.
Yeah,
we don't want our plane to get blown.
There's diplomatic reasons why you can't use military planes because it's God.
Yeah, so the whole thing's is
nuts. It's nuts.
I was just wondering. I know this is the farthest thing from what we do, but I was just curious as to what the hell is going on.
Well, the president of the president of Ukraine had a call with Biden, and Biden's going, they're going to get you. They're going to get you now, and he's going, just calm down. And he goes, just calm down. It's not as bad as you think. This is the president of the Ukraine telling the U.S. president. He goes, it's not as bad as you think.
Even though there's 200,000 freaking.
It could be 10 million. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
They're not going to do anything, or we don't care.
Well, the president of Ukraine's like, it's not as bad as you think. So I don't know. Yeah. The U.S. The current administration, I think, is blowing this stuff up because things are so weird in this country right now. It's a distraction. I think it's just a big distraction. I don't think Russia wants to invade the Ukraine. Russia just doesn't want to have missile batteries put on their border. They said just keep them keep the missiles outside of the Ukraine. Trump pulled missiles out of Poland to calm things down with Russia. So yeah, I mean, I think it boils down to Russia's like, please do not put nuclear weapons on our border. So it's like if Canada and Mexico were saying we're going to put nuclear weapons on the border of the United States, and F you. We probably wouldn't feel too good about that. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, Germany and Turkey are like, no, we don't think we want to get involved in this. This is your mess. You deal with it. So, but yeah.
Yeah, well, that's kind of because they're part of NATO. We're all supposed to be in this together. So what does that mess? What?
Yeah,
I mean, what message does that send?
But there was that message of, well, the EU hasn't been contributing what they've supposed to have been contributing to NATO for decades. They've been having the U.S. pay the bills.
I thought, yeah, and that's something Trump was addressing.
That's something he's
like, they don't pay. They don't. He's like, they don't even pay their fair share.
That was a big deal.
We're spending all this money.
Yeah, and
it was a big deal
because they don't. They're like, oh, let the U.S. do it. We can take our money and put it into things to help our citizens. With us, it's like, let's just give it to another country. Let's go help.
And look at the stuff going on in our country because we're doing this.
Yeah, I know.
We got homeless everywhere. So it's
well, you got it particularly bad. It's not bad here.
It is really bad in California. Yeah. I noticed when I was in Florida, I asked when I was visiting my relatives out in Florida, I don't see one homeless person.
They're here. We have a few.
They're here. They go, they're around, but I don't know where they are, but we see them every once in a while.
There's a shelter.
And now it's like they're lined up here.
Yeah. And there's a shelter downtown. And I don't know what they did locally. There's like a camp somewhere. It's like a camp, a special homeless camp. I don't know where it is.
Yeah.
But this
started with our lack of support for the mentally ill. I think this kind of stems from ages. You're aware of that story.
Yeah. And I've been reading this book about John Mack, who's a psychiatrist doing these abductee stuff, and you can see the genesis of this stuff, the collapse of our mental health system in this country. And this guy participated in it, but that was the philosophy. To do this, it was been devastating on people. Yeah, I don't know. Our country has so many problems, and we got a Secretary of State that looks like I don't know what. He looks like he's ready to keel over, and then we have President Badfinger, and I don't know. I don't feel there's not a lot of competence. There's not a lot of competence because of the age of the internet. You can see the lack of competence in our leadership. And it becomes very obvious very quickly.
And I'm sorry out there. We try not to get too involved in the politics, but it all seems it's we like to talk about news of the times, and this one's kind of. And we'll see how this plays out over until next week.
Oh, I think it'll be fine. I mean, as long as Turkey and Germany aren't concerned. Don't want to get involved. It's like the Russian. What's that old Russian saying? They go, "It's not my circus, not my clowns," or something like that. So,
why don't we say the same thing? Yeah, we don't want to be involved. You know what? You're right.
Yeah,
nobody should be involved.
Who cares?
Do we really want to? What if we just say, you know what? We don't want to be involved either, and then all the other countries like, oh shit, wait. Well, we don't have the support of the U.S.
Here's the worst case scenario: the Russia invades the Ukraine. The U.S. commits 50,000 troops. We're going to have 30,000 dead.
Yes.
How's that going to fly?
It's going to be a severe shit show.
Yeah. How's that?
Well, what if Russia takes over? Do you think there's going to be? Ukraine has their own military also. There's going to be they're going to run all over that.
The Ukraine military is not even a consideration. It's going to fade away.
Yeah,
that's what we've always
overrun.
Yeah, they're going to be overrun. They're going to fade away. Our troops will go in. Russia's going to eat our lunch, and I mean, based on our current government, who knows what they're going to do? Maybe they'll start throwing nukes. I mean, it's
nice.
Yeah, I could see President Badfinger doing that.
Great.
So, yeah.
Great.
So anyway, we're coming up on an hour. We've
all right.
We've missed some topics that we were going to talk about, which will come back next week. I wanted to talk about the snippet that I just did with Wilson, the inventor of.
That was a good one.
I charted out the potential course of this airship, And it like flew, this big circuit around Texas. That's a fascinating story. I barely touched on it. We want to talk about the Japanese UFO Museum, International UFO Lab app opened up in Ino in the Fukushima area, not near the nuclear, not on the coast where the nuclear incident happened. That's a prefect in Japan, Fukushima.
Yeah. Yeah.
What else?
Well, the octopus thing you sent me, we got to talk about.
I want to. We'll come to that. I need to read that. That's a real. This is from 2018, and it's was published in the Progress in Biophysics and Molecular Biology. Cause of the Cambrian explosion, terrestrial or cosmic. I sent you a popular article on it. I have the scientific article and a review of that. I need to actually spend some time going through that. I don't agree with what they're seeing, and I'll explain why. But I may change my mind once I read their article. I mean, just glancing at it, I have my own opinions, of course. And then, let's Jacques Vallée joined the Galileo project. We didn't talk about that, but we had to jump off the rails and go.
Yeah, well, I have to talk about the Ukraine. It's so weird. Yeah, this whole thing is so weird.
Yeah, it's just, I think it's, all right, I don't care. All
right, you ready to wrap it up?
Let's wrap it up till next time.
Till next time, thanks for listening to the latest episode of the Alien Probe Podcast. We welcome comments, questions, or requests to alienprobepodcast@gmail.com. Visit us on Facebook at alienprobe.net, Twitter and Instagram at alienprobepod. Check us out on YouTube at Alien Probe Podcast. Thanks to our senior producer. Thanks, Dr. Bill, for joining in. And we will see you next time.
All right. Bye-bye.